Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jay and welcome to the Shiplife. So, it looks like I spoke just a little too soon when it came to the CDC's deadline for cruise lines to opt in to the CDC's COVID program for cruise ships operating within the United States. As we have cruise lines like Carnival, NCL, Royal Caribbean, Disney, and Princess Cruise Lines that have now opted in at the last possible second. Now, this is somewhat in true cruise industry fashion. However, I think this is due to some changes and easing of restrictions by the CDC when it comes to their program. I'll explain the details in today's video. We also have an update from Carnival as they will now join Royal Caribbean and NCL in easing masking restrictions. And then finally, we do have somewhat of a small update when it comes to the fire that took place on the ferry over in Greece, as there has been unfortunately some developments that, well, are not very good. Let's go ahead and get into it. So in order to understand the entire saga, journey, and situation taking place between the CDC and the cruise lines, because it has been a very long, drawn out, be it a stressful one that has taken place for years now, I believe we have to look at everything in order to get from where we were to where we are now. And I'm just going to briefly give everybody a quick recap. It's going to take literally 2 seconds. So we all know that the whole situation started around March of 2020, and we thought this was going to be just a brief pause in operations. Come to find out that later on in 2020, we would see the implementation of the no-sail order by the CDC. Now, this will pause cruising operations in the United States, even though this was going on globally. CDC has control of jurisdiction of the United States. They would pause for a whopping 18 months. So we wouldn't see cruising operations resume in the United States until around June or July. Now, after that, of course, we still had the conditional sailing order, and it was a long process for cruise lines to start back up. We had the test sailings and all these other things that were going on that were honestly counterproductive and didn't really go anywhere. However, cruise lines prevailed and they were eventually able to resume operations little by little with limited occupation. We fast forward until 2022 because again 2021 was a giant train wreck. We would then see the expiration of the no sail order, or the conditional sailing order rather, which surprised a lot of people on January 15th. However, the CDC would come out with a voluntary program in which they could still monitor the cruise lines and of course have somewhat of a partnership where the CDC and the cruise lines could have rules that the cruise lines could adhere to. Of course, they had their color-coded system and they had their rules and regulations for testing and whatnot, and plans that were implemented in the event of an emergency. However, the only cruise line that would opt in when all this came about was NCL. Now you fast forward until where we are now here in February, the CDC came out and said, you know what, if you guys are going to opt in, you have until the 18th of February in order to do so. Otherwise, we are going to put you as far as the color status on the gray list, and that's going to be the end of it. You won't receive any help or anything like that. Basically, they're saying to the cruise lines, if you don't work with us, you're going to kind of be in the blind. And should something happen like an emergency or there's changes, even though we are seeing a decline during the pandemic, you're going to need some help in the event something happens in one of the ports of calls, one of the islands, anything of that nature. Which, let's be fair, makes sense for these cruise lines to work with the CDC as long as they are actually playing ball, which is something that we are learning that they did at the last possible second. Now, yesterday on February 18th, at the very last possible second, joining NCL, we saw Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Princess, and Disney Cruise Line all come out and opt into the CDC's new program. Now, why did this happen? Personally, I believe it's due to the fact that the CDC also at the last possible second eased a lot of their regulations, rules, protocols when it comes to the program. The first thing that we did all witness was that we saw the CDC lower their travel warning for cruising, because at the end of 2021 in December, the cruise lines, they had a little bit of trouble because the CDC came out and put cruising and a lot of the ports of calls, islands over in the Caribbean at the highest level possible, which was level 4, which is basically saying do not travel. Now, they can't force people not to travel. However, they could strongly advise against it. They said you shouldn't travel whether you are vaccinated or not. Now, they've dropped this down to level 3. Another thing they did the last possible second yesterday was give the cruise lines a little bit more flexibility when it comes to quarantining and isolation. Now, listen to this because it's very important. When it comes to isolation and quarantining, we know that the CDC has advised that if you're fully vaccinated, which keep in mind, fully vaccinated in the eyes of the CDC is that you are not only taking your 2 jabs or you've taken your 1 of the Johnson & Johnson, but you're also boosted as well. Now, this is something that's not a requirement. However, it is kind of like a guidance system for the CDC. So they are saying if somebody has tested positive on a cruise ship, they are fully vaccinated, or they are asymptomatic, it is up to the cruise lines and they can use their discretion to determine how many days they want to isolate them. Now, given also with this, they are also allowing the cruise lines to daily test people that are fully vaccinated in order to get them out of quarantine earlier. Now, just keep in mind, like I said, they're saying that you can do this as long as that passenger is fully vaccinated. Now, they are also doing things like adhering to an exemption list for kids and maybe people that have religious reasons for not getting vaccinated, stuff of that nature, a doctor's note. Now, also, just looking at this, we got to remember with places like our cruise lines, rather like Carnival, they have also come out and said that if you are fully vaccinated and let's say you catch COVID, or even if you aren't fully vaccinated, you got a doctor's note, you can now sail with Carnival. Given that you are not fully vaccinated, you got a doctor's note, and you can present this, you don't have to get tested, and you do not have to be fully vaccinated in order to sail. So this is just an indication that the tides are somewhat starting to turn for the cruise lines, and it's cool to see that the cruise lines are actually working with the CDC, and they're actually playing ball with one another rather than trying to see who has the biggest stick. I think that's something that we've unfortunately seen throughout the entire pandemic, which is why I believe the cruise lines have been just a little hesitant as far as working with the CDC and opting into their program and waiting until the last minute to see if the CDC will kind of, move the goalposts a little bit closer toward them so that they can all work together in order to get people on ships and sail safely. Now, there is going to be the big question of what is going to become of all of this. The CDC and cruise lines are working together again voluntarily. We have the color-coded system. You have cruise lines like Carnival that are technically recognizing natural immunity as far as getting COVID and having the protection, of course, with the doctor's note. Now, we do know that the CDC wants boosters. However, they can't really require them, but to a certain degree, they could talk to the cruise lines and really start pushing forward. Now, I don't know if this will happen. I guess we'll have to see, but I do want to hear from all of you. Don't just leave it up to me. I'm just a guy talking here on YouTube. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this entire situation. Do you think down the road some cruise lines or even a cruise line or two might come out and decide that boosters are a requirement in order to sail? Let me know in the comment section below. Moving on to a Carnival update. Starting on March 1st, Carnival will be joining NCL and Royal Caribbean in easing masking restrictions. With the exception of certain venues and areas and events that are taking place on board Carnival ships, you no longer will have to wear a mask. Now, just keep in mind that Carnival is of course going to adhere to the standards of the CDC as far as vaccination status, with the exemption, at least right now, of the boosters. However, just remember that could change at any point in time. Now, also starting on the 1st of March, remember how I told you about Carnival? They're going to be recognizing people that have tested positive for COVID and recovered and are able to come with a doctor's note, and they now no longer have to be fully vaccinated. All that officially starts on March 1st as well, which I believe is a good step in the right direction for Carnival Cruise Lines. You did have the CEO of Carnival Cruise Lines, Christy Duffy, come out and say that the health situation has improved, and she is of course talking about, Omicron declining, the entire pandemic, things somewhat going back to normal. Like I said, I believe this is a step in the right direction. Now, I do want to know what all of you think, of course, because I know there are a lot of people that are somewhat divided, kind of 50-50. Some people think the mask should still be implemented on board cruise ships, some should not. Now, obviously, of course, you still have the, decision to make for yourself. If you feel like you need to wear a mask on board cruise ships, by all means, go ahead and do it, and I don't believe anybody has the right to judge. Now, finally, we also have a very brief update on the ferry situation that caught fire over in Greece. Now, I talked about this yesterday around approximately 4:30 p.m. local time over in Greece, just off the coast of Corfu. We saw that local authorities got a report of a massive fire on a ferry. Now, this is the Euro Ferry Olympia. Now, there is believed to be about 230 passengers, about 50 crew that were on board this ship or this ferry at the time. It was supposed to be doing a 9-hour trip from northwestern Greece over to southern Italy. However, it would never make it there, causing everybody due to the fire to unfortunately evacuate. Now, we have an update being that originally we thought it was just 2 passengers that were stuck on board or missing. We now come to find out that there is at least 11 or 12. They're trying to locate these people. If they're on the ship, I hope not. They're going to, of course, still do a search and rescue mission to see what they can come up with. Now, obviously, situations like this are extremely horrific. They're never good. I do hope that they come out with a good outcome and all these people are found safe, alive, well, and we'll just kind of go from there. But like I said, guys, it's a very brief update, so I will be sure to let all of you know if there are any further updates and developments when it comes to this story. Now, I forgot to mention, you guys should, of course, like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I am trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by March 20th. That's my dad's birthday, which unfortunately he passed away. And right now we're at, what, 92,000? So 8,000 subscribers away. I usually average around 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers a month. So I'm going to be pushing as hard as I can to meet that deadline and join the rest of the elites, La Elite Loca, Emma Cruises, and everybody else that's been able to make it there so far. So fingers crossed we'll go ahead and do it. Anyway, guys, of course, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section below. Share this video, goes a very long way to supporting my channel. I appreciate every single one of you. I have a video coming out tomorrow, and then on my other channel, I know a lot of you guys have been asking, I will be uploading a video tomorrow afternoon of the dentist that I went to over in Mexico and talk about the prices. And I'm going back next week as well to go get some serious work done. I'm talking about implants, and yeah, I'm kind of scared, but I'm also excited at the same time. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later on tomorrow. But until then, you take it easy.